Welcome to Beerstories from Beerstory Brewhouse. This is kind of a grain to glass video about my Haze for Days IPA. It's kind of a New England IPA, but low ABV. So I'll run through the recipe with you and give you a description of what it tastes like. So when I brewed this, I didn't have a plan of making a grain to glass video about it. It's kind of, 3 months ago now? And this is probably the last pint I have left of this. So I thought if I wanted to make a video, I should do it now, because I've got a lot of questions about low ABV beer. And so I haven't gotten any videos of the brewing itself, but I'll run through the recipe and show you everything. And I think actually today I'll start by having a taste and tell you what the aroma is like, the taste is like, and the body. So the aroma here is just tropical. You got pineapple and mango. Yeah, and it's just a lovely aroma. And you can see it's hazy. It's a sweet beer, and it's pretty full of hop flavor as well, tropical flavors. It's not thin. So 99% of all NA beers you can buy, I think they're too thin. Of course, you can taste that there is not that high alcohol in this. The ABV is 0.09. But it still has a pretty thick mouthfeel, and it's because of this. I'll tell you about that later. But there's some techniques to doing beers like this, brewing beers like this. I really recommend you to follow this guy on YouTube called Ultra Low Brewing. He's a really cool guy. Where I got my inspiration from to brew these beers. I actually developed a stout with him. Also made a video with that, with my further development of the stout that we kind of talked about together. But yeah, this is about an IPA. I'll just take you through the recipe. It's a pretty simple grain bill. It's a New England style low ABV IPA. It kind of, you can taste that the alcohol is missing. That sweet, rich thing that you get from alcohol, it's not there, of course. It won't be in any low alcohol beer. Whatever people tell you, it's not there. But this is the closest thing you'll get, and it's mainly because of this. I'll get back to it. So I brew 25 liters or 6.5 gallons. You can see here that the ABV is 0.9. The original gravity was 1030. Final gravity 1023. Yeah, EBC is you can see it's just a pale yellow color. IBU is 24, so you can actually, it's not too sweet. You can taste that it's a little bit bitter. It has low bitterness, but it is a little bit bitter. Yeah, I guess it would be too sweet if the bitterness didn't balance it out. And you can actually see the bitterness unit to gravity unit is 0.8. So it's just, it's not high or anything like that, but it's balanced. It's it won't get too much sweetness out of this. You can drink this all day. You can drink several of them in a row. As you can see here, it's a really simple grain bill. We'll do that in a moment. But the mash is only is 80 degrees Celsius or 176 degrees Fahrenheit, and it really needs to be that high to make a lot of long chain sugars instead of fermentable sugars. And when we add a yeast like Windsor-Lellerman, that's maltotriose negative, meaning it can't ferment long chain sugars, it will create a beer that has a low ABV. If I change the yeast here, I will get a beer around maybe 2% ABV or something like that. So it's a really big difference, and it's really important that your brewing equipment is calibrated, especially in the higher degrees, because just a couple of degrees lower would actually mean that you will get a much more fermentable wort out of this. So 80 degrees Celsius or 176 degrees Fahrenheit is really, really important. Back to the grain bill. Well, we got 68% pale ale, 18% dextrin malts, just to really bump up the body and the sweetness. 7% flaked oats, also for body and that New England IPA feel to the beer, also flavor. And also 7% wheat malt. So that's a pretty standard, I think, grain bill. And if you see up here about 6 pounds of grains, malts, or 2.8 kilos, that's pretty standard for a low ABV like this, low ABV beer like this. So you can, it's pretty easy to make your own recipe. Just remember to bump up all the specialty malts and the flavor malts and keep the base malts to a minimum. So the hop schedule here is pretty standard actually for a New England IPA. It's just smaller amounts. But as you can see here, boil time for 30 minutes. Actually mashed this for 40 minutes. You can probably just do 30 minutes as well. But the boil time is just 30 minutes. 15 minutes left. I've added 10 grams of Amarillo, 10 grams of Mosaic. That's about 0.35 ounces of Amarillo and Simcoe. 5 minutes left. Another round of Amarillo, the same amount. For the hop stand, it's 75 degrees Celsius, 20 minutes, or that equals 167 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. I've added Amarillo and Mosaic, 20 grams, or 0.7 ounces. And for the dry hop, I only dry hop for 2 days. Phenols that can give you hop burn, they will extract fully after 3 days. And in a beer like this, I really didn't want to risk any hop burn, because I think it would just come through in the taste so fast when it's such a thin beer. So I only dry hop for 2 days. 70 grams of Mosaic, or 2.5 ounces, 60 grams of Amarillo, or 2.1 ounces of Amarillo, and then 50 grams of Simcoe equals 1.76 ounces of Simcoe. Only for 2 days. It's really important here for food safety. When you add the wort to the fermentation tank, you have to acidify it to a pH value of 4.6. That will make the food safe, because a normal fermentation will get the pH that low just by itself. But because it's fermented so little, it won't get the pH value down to that. So you have to do it yourself. It's really important. Yeah, you can also add glycerin, 3 milliliters per liter. Add it directly in the fermentation tank or add it afterwards. This is really key to make the beer that make the beer feel like a real beer. It will make it a thicker body and a better mouthfeel. So that, yeah, and it just makes a world of difference for me. So it's really, really important. And then I fermented it just at room temperature for 7 days. Actually 10 days. I ramped up the temperature the last 3 days, but 10 to 14 days at room temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, that would do the trick. That equals 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That would do the trick. Yeah, 14 days you will be sure that it has had a good diacetyl rest and everything. And basically that's it. It's a great beer and I really recommend you to brew it. I really recommend you to look up Ultra Low Brewing. He's a cool guy, only brewing low ABV beer. So he's got a lot of experience and he's also willing to help people. He inspired me. This recipe actually the first IPA, low ABV, I brewed was David Heath. But I'm not fond of the lactose. I don't think it aged well. This one is 3 months old and is still fresh. I also added ascorbic acid to it actually. But that's up to you, of course. So this is kind of a further development of David Heath's, but yeah, but it's not really anything like it anymore. So it's kind of his own, fully his own beer. Yeah, write to me if you have any questions. Other than that, just have a happy brewing out there.